All right, what is going on, you guys? Welcome to another video. I haven't had one out in the past, I think, 2 weeks. So we're going to try to make this a good one. I want to keep it decently short and just kind of get to the point, give the tips that I have for it. So this video, I'm just going to kind of go over, if you haven't shot your first elk, what that's going to look like and some kind of tips to help out with that. By no means, like, I'm not a professional. I don't even know how you qualify a professional technically in hunting. But in the past 10 seasons I've had that I've been able to hunt, I've shot 6 bulls. 4 of those have been with a bow and 2 with a rifle. So, I mean, I've shot quite a few for the amount of time I've been able to hunt. And those other 4 seasons, I had opportunities that I just messed up myself. So that's on me. I could have shot one every year. I've missed 2 bulls, and I've ended up hitting 2 that we couldn't find. The one lived for sure. We found that later out on a trail camera, and he was fine. The one I never found out about, that was like the second elk I ever shot at. And unfortunately, guys, if you're hunting long enough, that's going to happen. It's kind of inevitable. Obviously, we want that to happen the least amount as possible, or if at all. But the chances are, especially if you're bow hunting, that's going to happen sooner or later. And it's a terrible feeling, so we want to try to get you away from that as much as possible. So, I mean, I've been growing up. Since I can remember, I've been hunting. And when I was 12 years old, I was able to start bow hunting and rifle hunting, and I just immediately, bow hunting has always been something I've gravitated more towards. I definitely am more fond of bow hunting. It's just a better experience to me. Nothing against rifle hunters. I still rifle hunt too. If I don't end up getting something with my bow, I'm definitely going to go out and rifle hunt. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to go over kind of some things to help you get started if you have never shot an elk, or if you're trying to go out and go hunting for the first time. These are kind of some of the things I'd go over. So first off, you're going to have to figure out, I'm in Idaho. I've always hunted in the same spot since I was young, so nothing's really changed for me. But you have to figure out, so in Idaho, for instance, you have to pass a hunter safety class in order to even get a license and tags. So you have to figure out, I would assume it's the same like general thing for every state to do that. So tip number 1, get your hunter safety course if you haven't already. And then also in Idaho, so I'm just speaking for here, I don't know about other places, you have to pass an archery class in order to get an archery permit if you want to bow hunt. So those are 2 things to keep in mind, okay? Figure out what you have to do to even get those tags and licenses, okay? Then, another thing, this is going to be tip number 2, I would figure out, get your state regulations and figure out all the different rules and like places that are closed that you're not allowed to go hunt, stuff like that. Study the regulations, because sometimes there's some really weird stuff in there that you wouldn't expect that's illegal or you're not supposed to do. Like for instance, in Idaho, you used to not be able to use lighted nocks or expandable broadheads. They just recently changed that in the past year. So that's another thing. Keep your eye out on the regulations, because they do change and sometimes you don't even know about it. So every year, make sure you keep up to date on that, because you want to be doing everything right. And then, so you figure that out, you get your hunter safety and stuff out of the way, regulations and stuff, you have all that. And then, to get your tags and licenses, so I always get just over-the-counter Idaho Resident, Idaho tags. You just go to any local like sporting goods store. You could go to a Cabela's, Black Sheep, stuff like that. Or normally like small towns, your local sporting goods store will have them. You just go in. Here you used to have to show your hunter safety card. I don't know if that's still a thing. If it was your first time getting a license and tags, you have to show your hunter safety card and then your archery permit. That might be in the system, but I would have it if they give you some card for that. I can't remember. Just have that stuff ready with you. And then also just make sure sometimes the tags are different. Like for instance here, there's an elk A tag and an elk B tag. An A tag is going to give you more archery than rifle, and a B tag vice versa. You're going to get a little more rifle season. So figure that stuff out, and when you're going to be able to hunt, that kind of stuff, before you go in and get your tags. And one thing I would say, get your tags early. Just get them at the beginning of the year in your license, because a lot of people wait until right before hunting season, and it's just it doesn't work out well, because there's just a huge line a lot of the times, especially if you're in a small town. It's not the best for the store owners having to deal with all that, and their profits on those are very, very minimal. So it's taking up a lot of their time, because people just flood in right towards season. I mean, a couple weeks out. So get them as early as you can. The prices aren't going to change, so do that. And then So I think tip number 3, I would say figure out, there's a ton of ways now to kind of e-scout. The best way to me is to go out in the area during the summer or spring if you want to go look for sheds or whatever. Go look at the area where you're going to be hunting and find out where those elk are in the off season, so you have an idea. That's going to be like one of the number one things. I've hunted the same spot for years, so we always know kind of where they're going to be at. But if you're new, especially, go out and scout. Get on onX, kind of look at areas, figure out where you want to hunt, and have a game plan for when season comes. That's going to be huge, because that's a big thing. If you're just going out and you have no idea where the elk are, or where you're even going, then your chances of success are going to go down largely. You want to figure out where those elk are, and in like the spring and summer, you can get a pretty good idea of where they're going to end up in the fall. Obviously, when the rut comes around, they can be anywhere and stuff changes up a lot. But I would say that for sure. Scouting's huge, okay? Then tip number 4, okay, clothing and gear. This kind of depends on how much you're willing to put out money-wise on stuff. You guys, people hunt in jeans and flannels and they kill stuff every year. So it's not a huge deal. You could go to Walmart and get some camo. You can obviously go higher end and get camo. There's Sitka, Origin out now with that kind of stuff. Kuiu, I mean, it's all really good stuff from what I've been able to tell. And it's not going to be huge, you guys, what kind of clothing you're wearing. Obviously, some stuff's going to fit better and feel better, but the animals truly don't care what you're wearing. As long as your wind's good, that's going to be huge. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But as long as your wind's good, it doesn't matter what kind of clothing you're wearing. So don't overcomplicate that if you don't have the budget. Don't worry about that. Just get some sort of clothing you're going to be comfortable in. I would say boots. Get some comfortable boots because you're going to be walking around a lot. So make sure that's one thing I would make sure you invest a little money in. Get some comfortable boots. I've wore Kenetrek for the past, 4 years, and I love them. I know there's some other brands out there, but that's what I wear personally. They're pretty spendy, but they're definitely worth it. It's a really comfortable boot. So yeah, your clothing and stuff, don't overthink that, you guys. And then as far as bows and rifles, you can go out, you guys, and you can get a used bow. Really good bow. Just make sure, check out the strings and stuff. Make sure there's no cracks in limbs, that kind of stuff. If you're going to buy it used, you can get used bows, pretty nice bows for $300 or $400 that have everything on them. Okay, and then just make sure you shoot a lot before season, okay, because that's going to become huge. A lot of people, and I used to be guilty of this, would pop their bow out 2 weeks before season opens and just start shooting. They're not getting a ton of reps in before season comes around. And I will tell you, there's nothing, especially if it's your first time, that will prepare you for a bull elk being 10 yards away screaming and you have your bow in full draw. There's no scenario you can do to imitate that. So you want to be the best that you possibly can when you do get in that scenario, so you have the least amount of chance of messing it up. So shoot your bow as much as you can, get the reps in, and this, you guys, is huge. Train. This is going to be the next tip, so I'll just wait for a second. And then for rifle, you guys, obviously, people go back and forth about calibers for elk. I mean, anything. I've always shot a 300. Obviously, that's plenty. Any rifle, if you place it right, is going to be good enough to kill an elk. Now, when you're getting out to distances, that's going to be a different situation. I mean, people shoot elk with 6.5s from 600 yards away. So, I mean, I'm not super educated on like different rounds and stuff like that. I've always shot a 300. It's been plenty enough for me. But the majority of the time I bow hunt, and I've shot most of my elk with a bow. So that's kind of where I lean with that. Then, you guys, this used to not be, so this is going to be tip number 5, I believe. 5 or 6, whatever. I can't remember what I'm on now. I think it's 5. But, you guys, physical training for hunting, this used to not be a thing at all, okay? But this is huge now, especially with more people out in the woods now. Any area that's close and easily accessible, there's probably going to be a lot of people if you're hunting on public land. So, you're probably going to have to hike a ways. You're going to have to get out miles off the road, and training to hunt. Physical training is going to be huge, 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 especially when you shoot an elk. There's nothing I've found training-wise. I've been training in a gym for 4.5 years. There's nothing I've done that even comes close to how hard it is to pack out an elk. It's just a different type of suck. You can't get ready for it. specifically. I mean, you can train your body to be prepared for it, but nothing's going to be the same as packing out an elk like that. It's very rewarding, but it's very miserable at the same time. So get yourself in shape for that. If you think you're doing enough to get in shape, do more, because it's a different story when you're walking through the mountains and you're trying to walk super quiet, you're trying to set your feet down quiet. It just works muscles and it wears you out like something that you can't really imitate in a gym. You can do stuff to get close, but it's just not going to be the same. So make sure you're in the best physical shape possible. And yeah, that's going to bring you a really, really large advantage. Those animals live out there, okay? So it's nothing for them to go a half a mile or a mile in seconds or minutes, okay? It's not gonna, it doesn't take them long. They live out there, that's what they're made for. So, once you do that, okay, you got all that figured out, you're in good physical shape, you're ready to hit the season. Tip number 6, okay? Now, this is gonna be how you hunt. And there's a lot of different type of tactics and stuff that people use. It depends what kind of country you're hunting in. Idaho, northern Idaho, it's super brushy, so you're not really going to get a lot of spotting and stalking because you just can't see very far. It's all brush and timber. You can't really spot something from far away. If I could choose, that would probably be the number one way I would hunt elk. Just because if they don't know you're there and you can sneak up on them, to me that's going to give you the best chance to get something. We've always called, me personally, if I'm by myself, I just cow call a lot. And like I said, I mentioned earlier, dude, you just have to make sure your wind is perfect. If the wind is bad and those elk or any other animal catches a whiff of you, they're going to be gone, okay? That's number one. Make sure the wind is good. Because if they hear something, they don't know if that's a person or not. They just heard a noise. If they smell you, they immediately know something's wrong and they're going to be out of there. So that's huge. Make sure your wind is good. And you know what kind of country you're going to be hunting in, so that's going to depend if you're going to be calling a lot more or spotting and stalking, that type of stuff. I really like calling just because vocalizing with elk is awesome to hear and it just adds to the experience. So it's kind of a personal thing. You kind of figure it out as you're out there. You have to judge off how the elk, if they're going crazy screaming, you can start calling more obviously because they're rutting really hard. So that's going to be, I mean, kind of dependent on the situation and what you enjoy more, honestly. It's not about just killing something, it's about the experience of it too and just getting outside. So that, as far as calling wise and how to call them in, I mean, that's just going to be kind of what you want to do. And what I would say, a huge thing, I can't count how many times we've been out in the woods and you start getting discouraged because you've been out there for days, you haven't even seen anything, especially if you're up where, if you're in thick stuff, a lot of times you won't even see an elk for, weeks even. So it can get very discouraging, but patience is huge, and I lack a lot of that. But patience is going to be huge for elk hunting. You have to be able to develop that. And bring some stuff out with you. Bring a book or put games on your phone or whatever, something, because there's going to be really slow times during the day that you're going to want to have something to do to occupy you. Sometime take a nap or whatever. And this is something we used to neglect too. So we don't hike out. Our spot is not super far from a main road. And we always neglected. I never used to really pack water or food. And that's going to be huge. Because your energy levels, you guys, if you're not eating, if you're not getting your protein and stuff in and drinking enough water, you're going to feel dead very quick out in the woods. So make sure you're packing that stuff with you. Have a first aid kit and stuff in your pack, just in case something weird was to happen. Have enough food and water in there. And that's helped out a lot, being able to eat and drink enough water while we're out there in those dead times of the day. And then that's something I would say too. Stay out all day. If you're going to go out in the morning and stay out there all day, because you never know what time of the day the elk are going to be moving, or they might be going to get a drink of water or something. No one has them perfectly scheduled out to know when they're going to be up and moving around. So stay out all day. That's going to maximize your chance of success. And I've noticed when I've been out, there will be times, and it seems like this is really weird. This seems like this is how it goes. You'll sit down or whatever to take a break. You're not hearing anything. I cannot tell you how many times elk have ended up they're bedded down and they're 150 yards away from us, and if they don't make a noise, you don't know they're there. So there can be elk right by you, and you will never know. This last one I shot, this most recent in the 2022 season, my wife and I were up there. We saw some fresh sign, called a few times, didn't hear anything. And there was fresh sign there, so we knew we had to be around somewhere. There had to be some elk there. Waited a few minutes, called another time, and then a bull bugled 100 yards away, came right in. We got him, and that was that. But yeah, you guys, sometimes you just don't know. So patience is huge. Hang out in the spot. If there's sign there, they're there somewhere. Just hang out in that area. Stay patient. Patience is going to be huge. But kind of thinking about it, then you guys, if you do end up getting something, have some buddies or have someone that can help you pack an elk out, because you can do it if you're by yourself. 100% you can do it. It's going to be miserable, and it's going to be very, very difficult depending on where you're at. You can do it for sure. I'm not saying you can't. There's a lot of people that do, but it's really handy if you have a good group of people to help you. I think we had 6 or 7 people that were there to pack mine out, and it was one trip. Took, I don't even think, an hour to get mine out. So that helps a lot. Have some friends or some buddies that you can get a hold of to help you. That's another thing I would say. Try to find someone that's reliable, that you can hunt with all the time. Like I said, I grew up in it. I've always had my dad. My dad's took us out hunting since way before we could hunt. We've been with him. And my brothers, I've always had people to hunt with, so it's never something I've had to figure out. But get your family into it. If your dad or brothers or siblings or whatever, if you have a good buddy, get someone out there with you. Even if they don't want to shoot something themselves, just have someone with you. Because if something did happen and you're by yourself, it just could end up badly. So try to get someone out there with you. But yeah, kind of thinking about it, that's kind of all I could think about. If I was telling myself how to get started if I had never shot one. And a lot of that stuff too can apply to you guys that have been hunting and you just haven't gotten something yet. Patience is going to be huge for hunting. It doesn't matter. I don't know why I said both those twice. But that's going to be huge for any type of hunting, okay? You're just going to have to be able to wait it out. There's going to be super slow days. There's going to be awesome days, okay? And that, I will say, when you do shoot something, all of it's worth it. It all makes up for it, okay? So, yeah, you guys, that's kind of all I have. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I feel like that pretty much covers it all. Obviously, for every state, it's going to be different. Here, it's the same. I've always hunted the same area, so I'm comfortable where I'm at. Probably end up trying to hunt different states later on. Right now, we know of plenty of good elk where we're at, so I'm going to stay there for the time being and probably just keep hunting there. But make sure, you guys, for different states, it's weird. Some places I don't even think have over-the-counter. It's all draws, and you have to put your name in. Point systems, all that kind of stuff. So figure that out, where it's at for your state. Obviously, if you guys have any questions with anything, comment, or you can message me on anything. Let me know, and I'll get back to you guys and give you an answer on that. But if you want like recommendations for like a good type of bow to shoot or rifles or anything, comment. I'll answer you guys, give you my opinion on it. But yeah, I think that's kind of all I have. Let me know what you guys think, if you like this type of video or if it helps at all. I think we're sitting close to 20 minutes, so it's a little long. But yeah, just let me know what you guys think. If you want to see anything different, if there's any other types of videos that could help you guys out. I'm truly here, you guys. I just want to help people. And like I said, I'm not like a professional hunter, but I've been pretty successful with elk. A lot of that's due to my dad and how he's always had us out in the woods, and he's always calling for us. That's huge if you have a caller, you guys, to be with you. It's a really, really big advantage. So he's always been there to call for us, my brothers. We've all always hunted together, so yeah, it's kind of all I have for you guys. Just let me know what you think of the video, what I can do to make them better, what you guys want to see, and we'll try to get, I want to try to get 2 more videos up this week, so we're going to try to make that happen. And then I also have some news. If you're in North Idaho, Coeur d'Alene area, we're going to be opening up some in-person group classes specific for hunting. So if you want to train for hunting season, or anything else, I mean any other functional type of training, I'll let you guys know on that. And then yeah, you guys, I think that's going to wrap up the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.